Hey there, boys and ghouls. Welcome to this week's episode of Hollow Weekly. Nick and George here with a new series.
We have a series theme. I didn't know.
That is the alarm. Please don't let that be the series theme. That will turn everyone off almost immediately. I didn't even like doing it when I did it. And I'm not going to edit it out either.
All right. Well, let's leave
No. But we're excited to announce a brand new series that we're going to kick off today. It's sort of like a little softball episode today. We're going to kick off the series.
Yeah, because we're going to do a dry run just to see how it feels. I mean, it's a real thing, but it's also kind of, we haven't done it before. But this is what I liked about what Nick said was, before we started recording, I was like, this is similar to our How Low Can We Go series, which is our favorite series that we've done. And he was like, well, it's in the How Low Can We Go shared universe. So I was like, it's awesome. Because I totally agree. So the idea for this series, we're calling it
Mind the Gap.
Right. And the idea for this series is going to be that we are going to try to find... And I'll get to the...
Then we're going to outsource this to you guys here soon.
We're going to outsource this to the listeners and our Facebook group here in moments. But the idea behind this is we're going to try to find movies that are lower rated on in general, in consensus, like Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic, without validating like the evil it is Rotten Tomatoes, and then try to find movies that are higher rated and find horror movies that are where the lower one is better than the higher rated one.
Yeah.
Right. So like, for example, we're going to do today as the dry run, we're going to do Sleepy Hollow and
I Am Legend.
2007. Legend. And the reason we're doing both those movies is because they're both based on great American literature. But second tier, right? So not like the highest
and with literature. The scoring, coincidentally.
Yeah, and the scoring for sure. But because they're both based on literature, we wanted to find two movies that were based on literature, and then find one where one was lower rated than the other one, but we would flip it if we could control.
It's almost like this episode where every episode we're rooting for the underdog.
Yes, exactly.
Is what it is.
So like, I Am Legend is rated, I think, 69% on Rotten Tomatoes, and Sleepy Hollow is rated 68.
I've been wanting to get off like a good, hey, watch your mouth for almost 100 plus episodes. This was the moment.
Watch your mouth. But the goal for this, now so we're going to do, each episode is going to be structured like this. We'll talk about the movies. We're not going to reveal if we were successful until the end, except for this episode. Right?
Yeah.
So like, there will be times where we pick movies and it's either going to be something that we're rewatching after a long time, or we haven't seen the movie. Mm-hmm. And then at the end, we're going to decide. And sometimes the higher rated one will win. Right, like it's
gonna happen. It has to happen.
It's gonna happen, right?
It's just this one,
right? Because we're locking in the thing. And this one, there's no hiding our disdain for I Am Legend compared to Sleepy Hollow, so there's no.
It's a dry run, boys.
But and this will be the end of the explanation of this. I promise. Is that the goal for this? Is we're gonna try to find the widest gap that we can find between the rating numbers. So the over/under on this is only 1. Right? There's only 1% difference in this one. But I would love to find a movie that's sitting somewhere in the 20-30% of Rotten Tomatoes or even lower, and find a movie that's 80-90% and where the lower one is better.
And like you said, like we did this because these are both based off American literature. Like we want the movies to sort of have, they need to have something sort of in common. Otherwise, you could just find the shittiest or the best lowest number, and then the worst the highest number, and then like that's the end of the
for sure.
Series.
You have to pair them up. Although I mean, I think honestly, after the How Low Can We Go experience, I have a feeling it's going to be harder than we think it would be to just even randomly select two movies, because anything in the 20% category up against anything in the 90% category, it means you're comparing things like Shadow the Vampire to things like Poltergeist 5 or whatever, right? So like, it still would be tough, but like, it's going to be even better if we can find a through line where the movies have things in common, and it's like whatever. So there will be definitely episodes where we're doing two vampire films, or two like genre things, or two sequels, or two remakes, or what have you, right? But for this one, we're starting with the literature one because we're super passionate about. I'm super passionate about the book I Am Legend, and we're both super passionate about the movie Sleepy Hollow. So that is that. Now, the only thing I want to say, and then I'm going to kick it to Nick, is that again, and I feel like I had to do this with How Low Can We Go. Do not consider the series idea validation of Rotten Tomatoes model or anything like that. This is a shorthand thing we're using. When we say Rotten Tomatoes, we're saying basically critic
When we say Rotten
consensus.
Tomatoes, everyone goes, "Why are you using Rotten Tomatoes?" We're like, dudes, come on.
Well, I don't even care. It's not about the blowback from it. It's about the fact that, I want people to. I want this to be very clear, right? Part of why we're doing this is that we're deconstructing the Rotten Tomatoes model, right? So by finding movies that are really low rated and showing that they're objectively better than the movies that are higher rated, we're showing that their model doesn't even work.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a deconstruction of it, but you have to use the rules to break them, right? Or you have to, what's that saying? Learn the rules before you break them, or some shit like that. I don't know, but that's that.
I never learned any rules.
You're wearing a shirt that has the word rules on it right now.
Well, no, it says Stephen King rules. It's not like when I got stopped from TSA, they went, "Well, what's some of Stephen King's rules?" I'm like, I don't fucking know. I didn't read on writing.
The only one of Stephen King's rules I know is to write every day but Christmas. That's one of his rules. I don't know any of his other rules.
Is that one of his rules?
I think he only takes like 2 days off a year and then writes every
Jesus
other
Christ.
day. He's a machine.
Oh, that's how you become Stephen King.
That's one of the ways you become Stephen King.
What was Washington Irving's writing method?
I don't. It was involved a quill.
That's right. Sleepy Hollow was written on a quill, dude. That's why it wins automatically.
Right. And let me just get this out of the way before we dive into the movie parts, right? Which is the books. Shockingly, are sort of a tie, which would be hard to do if you were taking something that's considered a classic, like Washington Irving's Sleepy Hollow, and then find a novel that was written, relatively recently. The novel is almost always going to lose in terms of quality, right? Not entertainment value. Obviously, a lot of people would find
a lot of people hold the history behind it,
right?
to a
Exactly,
higher
but
standard, too.
Sleepy Hollow is legendary, right? To find a book that's written recently that even can stand in the ring with it is kind of remarkable. But we did,
Yeah.
because to me, these are pretty much even up. That's an even up thing in the writing department.
Yeah.
It's the movie department where it gets a little iffy. Is there anything you want to say about like the series in general? What you're looking forward to? What you think about what's coming up? Or do you want to just dive into?
Well, like we sort of like with our live shows, we sort of just ask these questions that is hard for us to answer, but like the fans who are way more knowledgeable answer like in a heartbeat.
Sure.
I'm curious to see what the widest gap we're gonna find is in this, because
Right.
I can't even fathom what it's gonna be or what it could be.
Right, because
you
know me, I'm competitive. I want to find like the 100% gap. I want to find like a 0% fucking movie, right? And then, but that's not going to happen. But we're going to try. We're going to try to. Yeah,
That's what I'm excited for, and plus, it's I always like series.
Yes. I'm also excited for when it blows up in our face. I'm excited for when we pick two movies and then it turns out the higher ranked movie is higher ranked for a reason.
Yeah.
Right. And we think that it's not going to go that way because our commitment is we're going to choose the two movies based off what we know or remember of them and just commit that those are the two movies. And then if we watch the two and discover that the higher rated one surprises us and is definitely better than the other one, we're just going to do the episode.
And I'll be honest, I'm glad we have another series that we're doing right now, because a lot of other podcasts do like this movie came out Friday, and I just don't like leaving the house, man. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. Like I'm just now hitting up like 3 to 4 open mics for stand up, and like
Yes.
it took me like a month to even get into
And
that.
and that's all your leaving the house time is now sucked up with with that.
I leave for an hour for 3 to 5 minutes stage time and depression.
Right, that effort is gonna crimp our new release style.
Exactly. Okay, so here it is. We got 69% I Am Legend, and I refreshed on it a little bit today.
Yes,
and 68% beautifully crafted, wonderful film.
Yes,
known as Sleepy Hollow.
So, in my opinion, for the series, we're always going to start with the higher rated movie first.
Yeah,
because the lower rated movie is the one we're rooting for to win, so it's the one that should come second. So let's talk about.
Let's go through I Am Legend.
I Am Legend.
I remember when I Am Legend came out, my sister and her friends went and saw it in the theater, and I was playing, I think the Orange Box that just came out, where they had all the Valve games. They had Portal, Left 4 Dead, Half-Life.
Yep.
And I remember they went to go see it, and I was playing through Half-Life Episode 2, I think. And the only reason I Am Legend to me at that time, because that was that weird phase where like I kind of hated every movie.
Sure.
You know what I mean? You're just
Sure.
kind of like, fuck everything. I don't play my games. The only reason I Am Legend sounded remotely interesting is because I think it was the IMAX version was going to show the first 5 minutes of The Dark Knight before it came out.
Yep.
And like that was the
That's
only
right.
draw I had to I Am Legend. That's the only fucking reason I care about
Well,
the movie.
I think there's another one that you has to be there. So there's two, but one you didn't know about, and the one just subconscious because the title is killer. That is a great fucking.
I Am
title.
Legend's a great
It's
title.
It's one of the greatest like book titles of all time, like that. And just I mean, if you just saw a movie like I Am Legend, it's just like, what is this, like the Ali biography, like
Right?
right? Like what is this movie?
It has a punch to it. So the title of it's really cool. And back then I definitely like was not even like reading horror or anything like that. Like I'm even new to reading horror. So like there's no fucking way I knew I Am Legend was.
And the second thing is
vampires
that you wouldn't have known at the time is that Richard Matheson, who wrote I Am Legend, did. So there's two things you wouldn't have known. One is that he did like a third of Twilight Zone, which is your favorite TV series of all time.
Yeah.
And the screenwriter for that's different. So yeah, all right. So I Am
saving
Legend
that for the underdog.
Yeah, we're saving. So I Am Legend is so, but let's put it in the framework of: are you a fan of like post-apocalyptic movies?
I think Mad Max made me a fan.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you weren't at the time.
I was not at the time. No.
So you don't like movies like The Road. You're not like
The Road, yeah, because The Road was like '09, so like that was 2 years before I'd even see that movie.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I remember it was like I think it came around that same time where like the blockbustery films started. They lost that like cinema experience. You know what I mean? It just felt like another glossy, weird, big budget Will Smith film, and you're kind of like, well,
like Wild Wild West.
Yeah, like I loved Wild Wild West. You back the fuck off of Wild Wild.
We got to do an adjunct series that are not horror movies.
That's
I
got
want to hear you defend.
no. That has some scary
Wild
scenes
Wild
in it
West.
where they have like the neck brace on and the saw blades chasing them. Like, dude, you have to run for your life or else you're gonna get decapitated.
Oh my god, we are going to go down a Wild Wild West rabbit
Okay,
hole.
we'll say that for later.
No. It's actually fine because it's hilarious because I was going to jump all over you about it and then realized that I like Jonah Hex. So what
Yeah.
what am
You
I gonna
got
say?
your shitty western. You got your shitty western.
So okay, go ahead.
But like, I think earlier that year, I think 2007 was also like I don't know when I Am Legend came out. If it was August, but like. Here's how my brain's remembering it at least is like that was like the same-ish year. I think we got like Transformers.
Okay.
So I was like, I've already seen my big action big action blockbuster. This seems like
That makes sense.
after you see Transformers, which I was a fan of the first Transformers film.
Sure. Everyone was a fan of it.
You look at I Am Legend, you're like Will Smith's supposed to be this like blockbuster action film, but like I just saw these like robots beating the shit out of each other. This looks kind of
and he's wandering around with a dog. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is, you know what? Another reason why I Am Legend lost, and I'll say this: I Am Legend premieres the first 5 minutes of Dark Knight. Transformers premieres the first trailer for Cloverfield. So
yeah, I would have won. Dark Knight would have won with me, but I know you're a huge Cloverfield fan.
well, it was before you even knew
what they were.
Yeah, what Cloverfield was, because
Right.
it was just that scene with the Statue of Liberty getting its head thrown, and I remember I looked at my friend.
Badass marketing.
I had my friend PJ next to me. We went to the mall cinema to go see it, and I looked at him and I went, "That's the Godzilla reboot they're doing." I couldn't have been more wrong. I was so certain this was Godzilla.
That's hilarious.
Okay, but back to I Am
Yes,
Legend.
So you end up seeing it in the theater?
No, I don't see it until FX started showing it like every other Thursday. Like they started showing it so much that you inevitably see it just
It's funny
over
you said
time.
that because I refreshed Sleepy Hollow and I was like, do I have to rent this shit? I went on, it was on Sci-Fi like the last 7 days in a row.
Yeah, it's weird how these are popping up on television. But I Am Legend was one of those like FX films. Like I see people say this online. Like it looked like a weird action-y sort of horror-y film
definitely
premieres on there. And so I ended up just catching bits of it throughout like the past almost like 10 years.
Oh my god! So it's like fragments you collect in a video game. You've assembled the
Yeah,
movie.
so it's a ton of fragments, but I've seen a lot of chunks of it like in order.
Sure.
It's like I've seen like 98%.
Well,
of
you're a
the
video
movie.
editor. I think that's how you see things in your head anyway. Even
I
when,
could
even
play-
when you see them,
I could place them around. I do, but I remember. So I remember watching like the flashback stuff and being bored with it. I was like,
Sure.
man, this is not interesting. Go back to like the dude by himself in the city. Like
Yep.
That's the thing is we talked about this before we recorded. The first third or not? Yeah. The first
basically right.
part is great.
Yes.
It's good.
yeah,
It's good.
it's good.
It's not
It's
great.
solid good.
It's solid. It's
Yes.
that's the perfect word. It is solid.
Yes.
And I thought they did a really good job with like the isolation, and like that's where like the big blockbustery part of it felt good.
Agreed.
That's when it felt good. Like
Agreed.
they had like the Batman versus Superman, fake thing on there. I was actually refreshing it, and I stumbled upon CinemaSins, and they had like the Chiron on CNN was Knicks continue winning spree, and that dude's like
Nope.
no, but all of that part was really well done.
Yes.
I like that part. It's when the flashbacks keep coming and the other family
All right, wait.
comes.
Let's stick on that part for a second because this interests me, right? Because one of the things I love actually what it did with isolation. I do like Will Smith a lot as an actor.
I'm sad he's not going to be in Suicide Squad 2. He was the best part.
I know he was amazing. So like that. So it's disappointing that they couldn't carry forward from that part. But here's one thing that bothers me just from the jump, right? So there have been several adaptations of I Am Legend.
Yes.
And in my opinion, this is the worst. So you don't even deserve to be rated fresh if you're not even the best sibling in your family.
That's
like
true.
If you're the worst brother in your family, like come on. So Omega Man, which a lot of people would consider worse, I consider better. I'm a little bit older, so like I get it a little bit more, but it was also just really strange, creepy. Not a great movie, but the first third of I Am Legend is better than Omega Man, but the last 2/3 are not, right? So
Yeah.
And then Last Man on Earth, the Vincent Price movie, which kept the point of the book. And kept things that are really important in the book that I Am Legend changed is better than this movie. So you're not even the best entry in your family, right? So like,
and Omega Man was oh god, what's his
Charlton
name?
Heston.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, Omega Man's not that great a movie. And you know what? One of my quick shortcut tells, if I haven't seen a movie, to figure out if the movie is going to be okay but not great, is that I noticed Roger Ebert for his span of his career, he had this offhand way of starting reviews of okay movies where he just sounded like he didn't give a fuck, right?
Jesus,
so
like-
the first line is just this sound, you could just hear it coming off the page of him not giving a fuck, right? So like his first line of his review of Omega Man is something like, I'm paraphrasing because I don't have it in front of me, but it's something like, well, if there's got to be a last person on the earth, it might as well be Charlton Heston.
Wow.
Like you can just gauge the level of caring from that line.
He's going in with that level of spice. He's like,
and he didn't bash it. He was like, it's okay, because that's how he did it. It was just okay, right? So like, it's an okay movie, but but the point of the book is that the main character Neville ends up being a legend to the vampires who end up inheriting the earth from us. We're exterminated. Humanity is exterminated, right? And they actually, in Last Man on Earth, they say it in the line. It's from the book where he basically goes, the vampire tells Neville, "You're a legend to us. You're the monster that moves by day." So it's flipped, right?
Yeah.
He's their monster, right? And then in the book, there are two kinds of vampires, right? So like there's a conscious kind that end up reorganizing society and Earth and taking over and exterminating us. And not like grunting, growling, bad CGI vampires who have literally zombie vampires who have the best thing they can think of is that car trap. Right, that's literally their high, which is a great scene. Don't get me wrong, but he
did hang upside down for like 8 hours.
That was pretty messed up. Right? That was a great scene, but that's what I'm saying is like it's just like with Frankenstein, where in the movie they flipped it and they made this articulate monster just like a grunting killing machine, right? But in this one, they've taken thoughtful vampires and well, actually, it's the same. So like that bothers me that's there in this thing, right? But it's also a generic world, right? Like think about the world of I Am Legend.
Yeah, when you compare it up with
Sleepy Hollow, are you kidding me?
Dude,
Now,
that's
the video rental thing is good. The comic elements in I Am Legend are pretty weak sauce, but but if you think about the world and you've got the whole run of the world, like Night of the Comet on like 1,000th of the budget gave you a more memorable post-apocalyptic world than I Am Legend.
the comment did,
right?
Even just that being in the movie theater for that little bit in the beginning and then the mall.
Yeah, and the radio station and you remember those
Yeah.
places. Like start naming places in I Am Legend.
34th and something street. I don't know how their streets work.
There's the place with the mannequins, the place he gets trapped, and his lab.
Yeah.
And
that
then-
weird warehouse where the dog runs in.
Right, but I don't remember the warehouse. I remember the
'cause
dog.
It's dark. The whole fucking warehouse is dark. Yeah, duh.
Right, yeah.
The SUV with his wife.
Yes, yeah, true.
They're in there for a little bit.
For
a little bit.
And when you think about like if you think about I Am Legend done right, my mind would go to War of the Worlds, the Spielberg version. If if I Am Legend had
Oh, this is a good point.
War of the Worlds secret bite and that style, like all the way through, it would have been so good. And they kept the fucking point of the book. Then it would have been so good.
Yeah.
But they changed at the end of it. It's like the survivors are walking away and they're like, Will Smith's no longer with us anymore. But like for us survivors, he's a legend. Fuck you. He's not a legend to the humans. Like, come on.
Yeah.
He's not. We're not even there anymore. Like, what's happening? So that really, I don't know if you can tell, but that really bothers me.
Yeah, it's just kind of like they ripped out the last few pages and they were like, "What? What are you talking about?" No.
Well, back to bring it full circle, back to it's one of the greatest titles in the history of modern literature. But one of the reasons it's a great title is because I literally remember where I was reading that book when I hit that last page.
Wow, where were
That's
you?
how powerful.
Paint the
it
picture.
was.
Where were you?
So you're not going to believe this. It's really weird. I was a kid, right? So this is gonna date me so hard. So you're not. No one but who was even remotely young is going to even know what the fuck I'm talking about here. So they used to install cable. Well, maybe not. I don't know. Maybe they still do. But when they installed cable in the ground, it used to come on big wooden spools, huge wooden spools. Have you ever seen it?
I've seen them. Yeah.
So there was one that I tipped over on its side, and it was in a creek. And I would go take books there and read, and go there to be alone. So I would just sit in the middle of a river on this fucking huge spool.
That's
right?
hilarious.
And just read. It was like my reading ambiance place. Right?
Yeah.
And I was reading this book, and when I flipped it, it said "I Am Legend," and I was like, "I am Legend." And then in my little kid brain, it was like, "I am Legend." Like, you're a legend because you're the Nosferatu. You're the monster. I'm like, holy shit! I did not see that coming. Right. So like, it's just an amazing, impactful thing that they just decided. Fuck that! We don't need that. Like, why would we keep that? Let's just.
So I Am Legend changed some shit in the book that was very unfavorable. Meanwhile,
let's transition.
We good? Yeah, I think we're good.
Yeah, we're good. We're good. Yeah, because I'm just gonna rant. Like,
yeah, there's no point in that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, but to be honest with you, it's you know the I Am Legend is not a terrible movie. It's just terrible in comparison to Sleepy Hollow.
Yes.
Okay.
And in comparison to, would you say the book?
And yeah.
Okay, so that's 0-2.
I mean, that's 0-2.
That's 0-2, brother.
All right, but on to the
Sleepy Hollow, they changed some stuff.
The breath of fresh fog that is.
Oh my god, dude! You can feel that crisp, cold air. Oh my god, the crunching of the leaves, the smell of those damp leaves. Oh, bro, take me back.
Wait, pause it. One second. There was one thing. So the weird thing is, I Am Legend. Like to me. There's a prophecy, right? That I Am Legend predicted Tom Cruise's The Mummy. They have the same problems for the same reasons, and you know how like you get these prophecies, like, but they're always for things like Indiana Jones style, or for like good, or for where treasures are buried. Sometimes we should heed the warning prophecies. Like when they started making The Mummy, someone should have just dropped an I Am Legend Blu-ray just right on Tom Cruise's desk.
Like, don't you do it.
Don't you do this. Don't you do this. And then he's going to do it. Okay, good. So, Sleepy Hollow.
Sleepy Hollow, in the book, or in the whatever,
the short
however
story,
many pages he had with his quill.
Yes.
They changed a few things. So Ichabod's no longer a teacher, right? He's now a detective.
Yes.
Or he's working for Constable Crime.
Yes.
They changed. What else did they change?
They made some good changes.
But it was good shit.
They made some good changes for cinematic reasons.
Like, I didn't read Sleepy Hollow listen to the audiobook of Sleepy Hollow until years after I watched the movie.
Right.
And everything they said, I was like, yeah, I think the movie's better. Like, I think I enjoy the movie. Like,
well, yeah, I mean, Washington Irving is old, dude. That's a pretty dated story, but I think that So the idea is genius, but let's be honest, nobody writing in that time. It's like the
Yeah.
Shakespeare, they're different eras, but like it's they were taking plots from oral tales and stories like that. They didn't invent this shit, most of this shit themselves, right? So I don't think that he invented Sleepy Hollow. Maybe he did. I don't know enough about Washington Irving, but it's
He's got the
the
credit.
idea is amazing, right? And the story is really good.
Even
so.
the title. See, that's the other thing I didn't think about this. Both of these have great titles.
They do.
Sleepy
They
Hollow.
totally
You
do.
see it. There's a Sleepy Hollow in Glendale.
There is.
Yeah, there's a street that was called Sleepy Hollow.
That's amazing.
And I was
had
like,
no idea.
I was like, man, that's
It's
great.
such a great, and the way you first hear it in the movie from Christopher Lee's lips, right? He's like, Johnny Depp's trying to tell him all about how you guys don't know how to be detectives and how to deal with crimes the real way, and you got to get more modern, like whatever. And then he busts out and he's like, well, if you feel so strong about it, we're going to send you on a detection mission. Prove yourself to the town of Sleepy. And he just, it's like,
He
it's like
drones
evil
it.
butter. Oh my God. I miss him.
Even the opening scene of Sleepy Hollow.
Incredible. The
opening scene
Can
is-
we just also say, because you say this so many times, and I don't think that we've done enough in the podcast about it, is that the Headless Horseman is one of the greatest little talked about villains in all of.
That's why I got the statue of him behind me.
He's incredible,
It's striking.
incredible,
And
just the cinematic, how it looks, and I forgot how fast he moves.
that's the thing.
intimidating.
He's ferocious.
Oh my God! It's
Yeah, that
incredible.
horse.
He's like a tank.
When we went to Disneyland for Halloween, and they had the Headless Horseman
Yes.
lead the parade.
Yep.
And it was Disneyland,
Right.
But I always forget how big horses are.
Yeah.
And then when I see the dude, I'm like, oh, I
But
get
yeah,
it.
when you hear the story, it sounds a little bit silly. But then with the way Tim Burton shoots it and the way it's acted, especially when Christopher Walken actually has a head for parts of it, you
Yeah.
know, and the way that the way he approaches it, there was the scene when he's chasing down one of his victims. It is always like a corridor shot,
Yeah.
perfectly like whatever, and the victim's trying to maneuver to not get his head chopped off, and the Headless Horseman's trying to maneuver to it. It was like the tanks maneuvering in Fury.
Yeah.
I felt like I was watching a battle scene, like oh, so good.
Well, we started off I Am Legend with Atmosphere.
Yes.
And it a post-apocalyptic atmosphere is pretty much always just going to be, bare and orange for whatever reason.
True.
Except for the road. The road was like green and blue. But Sleepy Hollow, like, you just can't compare Atmosphere.
No, it's incredible.
Like Tim Burton's Atmosphere, and especially in Sleepy Hollow, I think is like when it is like him at its best.
Yep.
There's nothing like you look at any frame of Sleepy Hollow, even ones that like are like flashbacks and shit like that.
Yep.
It all has this like Halloween dark feel that is consistent throughout the whole film. I guess until the very, very end when they go back to New York.
Yes.
But I mean that's different. It's
The tree is scarier than anything.
the
in I Am
tree
Legend.
is so good. Everything
The vegetation is scarier than anything in I Am Legend.
and the cast. We got to go through this cast.
Well, that is one place where it's not a fair comparison. So let's part of this series should probably be figuring out where
Yeah.
we might be like bullying one of the movies a little bit, because I Am Legend has like 0 characters and this
That's true.
cast is ridiculously
That's true. So we'd have to give
rich.
Will Smith the handicap.
Yes.
There.
Yeah, totally.
Well, you know what? It is like 2000s Will Smith, like fucking like.
True,
you
he
put
counts for a lot.
Yeah, I don't want to undersell how popular.
That's a good point.
Will Smith is.
That's a good point.
I mean, we're putting it. Well, 1999 Johnny Depp. That's pretty. He's
That's
real
pretty
fun.
big, though,
But anyways,
Yes.
we'll figure that out. But you got Johnny Depp,
Yes.
Christina Ricci.
We don't have time, dude. Everyone in this movie is amazing.
Everyone's good. The weird pedophile guy from Ferris Bueller. Before all that news broke,
Jeffrey
we look
Jones,
at who the fuck else is
Can
it?
I give a special shout out to Dumbledore? So Michael Gambon is an amazing actor,
Mm-hmm.
right? And he was amazing as Christina Ricci's dad in this movie.
Yeah.
He was amazing. Like, I forgot how good he was. And Miranda Richardson, the ultimate villain of the movie,
She's so good.
is incredible.
She's so good. And that's the other thing is who composed the music for I'm Legend?
I have no idea.
Who composed the music for Sleepy Hollow?
I have no idea.
Fuck you, Danny Elfman, man. You were supposed to God,
I'm just
that was
wanted
the
you to say it. I just wanted
worst.
to wash my mouth out.
That was the worst alley oop of all time.
Sorry.
I went to pass it. I saw you weren't there. I had to run to the ball, and then jump like the fucking Flash.
That's
and
okay.
then
You handled it.
try to dunk it. But you got Danny Elfman's music.
Yes.
And I'm sure there's some great tracks on I Am Legend. Like, it's inevitable that like a movie that size has bad tracks all the way through. There's gotta be some good stuff.
Right.
But there's nothing I can't listen to in the Sleepy Hollow soundtrack.
Yeah, agreed. It's
Everything.
And even like the sounds, like the horse hooves and there's this moment in this movie. You remember you remember everything. You've watched it like tons of times, but that moment when they're chasing the Hessian and he gets caught and beheaded, and he comes
In the
across
woods.
two girls
Yeah.
in the woods,
The snow
and he
scene.
says shh, and she snaps I jumped. She snapped the stick and I jumped like, and the sound was like a gunshot across like the field, and I was like, it's just and incredible. Even the two little girls who play the parts, because one of them's young Miranda Richardson, ultimately, right? But like even they were just amazing for the little bit they had. Everything is impeccable in that movie.
Well, you were talking about, you remember when you read I Am Legend. I remember when I rented Sleepy Hollow. Like, it just hit me. I remember Hollywood Video was still open
Okay,
in Springfield.
sure.
And I remember my friend told me about the beginning of Sleepy Hollow. And he wouldn't tell me whether or not, you know how it's like they're dripping the wet wax, the wet wax. It's
Yes.
wabbit season.
It's
The
wabbit
red wax.
Yes.
Red leather, yellow leather. And he wouldn't tell me whether or not it was blood or not.
Yes.
It was real stupid. It
Sure, of course.
it was whatever age we were at the time. I
Right.
think we were in 3rd grade. But I remembered like that sold me on it. And then when I saw that opening, I was like, wow, this letter's pretty cool. I thought that part was cool. And then it's followed up by the first like death scene.
Right.
And that just blew my fucking mind.
Amazing.
I was sold. I remember I watched it. I was upstairs in my parents' room we were watching it via the PlayStation 2 at the time.
Okay.
And like I just remember like you couldn't pull me away from the TV. I was like, I need to see it. And then I remember I think I ended up renting it like 2 or 3 more times.
Sure.
Like over the next few years, because it was just nothing that came out past that.
And because we have 2 movies at hand, let's do a little comparison. So I did find a couple things besides the book thing, right? So
Okay.
like one thing that's interesting to me is that both central characters are basically scientists, right?
Yeah,
so they're
yeah.
basically trying to run things by reason and rationale.
This is a perfect pairing. How do we do this?
And what's interesting about the fact that they're both doing that is how better that Sleepy Hollow handled that concept. So I'll explain why. So like there's a great moment. So they're both basically trying to use reason and explain to the people around them that like superstition and urban legends and stuff is not the way to like think about things in life and like whatever. And in Sleepy Hollow, there's this amazing moment. There's 2 amazing moments on the reason category that stand out to me. There's a great moment where, so in I Am Legend, Neville is never proven wrong. He's actually right. He actually comes up with the serum that's the cure, right?
Yeah.
And his path was the right path, right? Basically, right? The only thing that he went down the path too much was he got his soul was too eaten, hollowed out by isolation and rage, right?
Yeah.
So he was too angry to carry on to the next generation, which should not have happened anyway. But his rationale was right? In Sleepy Hollow, Ichabod Crane's rationale is wrong, partially, and then he has to adjust, which is just a better arc and more complicated and interesting, and I'll tell you why. So there's this great moment where he discovers that the Headless Horseman is actually a supernatural Headless Horseman, and he's laying in bed because he passes out like 85 times in this movie.
Anytime he sees blood or a spider.
And he wakes up and he's like, no, the Headless Horseman is real. And there's this group of the
I
people
love
around
that
him,
scene.
and
Alfred from the Batman?
Yeah,
Yeah, he's
and
in
he
there.
looks down at him and he goes, yeah, we know. And he goes, no, I saw him. He was real. And they're like, yeah, I know it. He's like, no, I killed someone in front of me. He's real. And they're like, yeah, we know. We told you. Everyone told you.
I love that.
The line everyone told you, because they're right. The superstitious people are right, and the reason person is wrong. He's right about how to use the tools to figure out how to understand things better. But he's wrong about the premise.
Yeah.
Which is just a more interesting formula.
'Cause normally with-
then Will Smith is right, and then he's still right, and then he's still right. That's what kind of arc is that?
Yeah.
Right? So that like that didn't make any sense to me, as like there was no drama behind that. So that was, but there's an even better part where they're telling him, so he ends up Ichabod Crane ultimately believes that Christina Ricci, who he's fallen in love with, might be the villain, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he thinks that she's the one controlling the Headless Horseman. And the kid, his sidekick, goes to him and he goes,
What's his name? Frederick?
Yes, he goes, you're just following reason, or you're a slave to reason, or all you care about is reason, or whatever. And I'm not remembering exactly, but basically Johnny Depp responds with, no, the kid goes, I forgot because it was so good. The kid goes, you're bewitched by reason, and he goes, I'm not
That's a cool
bewitched by
line.
reason, I'm beaten down by it, right? So he resents the thing that he's trying to get people to buy into. He himself resents it, right? Imagine being a pitch person for a product that you know is a good product but has a severe drawback to it, right? So how do you feel about pitching that product? You're going to become kind of
Jonathan. Jonathan's the name.
You're going to be kind of
Frederick's Frazier's kid.
oh god, you're going to be kind of torn if you're trying to pitch a product that is a really, really good product, but has a serious side effect to
Yeah.
it, right? So reason is that product. It's something that everyone needs, but has a seriously bad side effect attached to it, which is just wonderful as a movie thing.
Well,
right?
we were talking about the writer, and because you were like, do you
yeah.
know who the writer was? And coincidentally, when one of Alex's screenplays or pilots got slated for the Austin Film Festival, she actually met, what's his name again?
Andrew Kevin Walker.
She actually met him, and she messaged me. She's like, I'm meeting the guy who did the screenplay for Sleepy Hollow. I almost fell out of my fucking chair, dude. I was like, what?
Well, and while we're comparing movies, so let's do that. Let's compare backgrounds. So go ahead.
Okay,
tell me about the backgrounds of the writers.
Let me get rid of the cast for Sleepy. Dude, when I went in to put in the cast of Sleepy Hollow, I had to like hit show more like twice because so many fucking good names.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And there, okay, so I Am Legend was Mark Protosvich. Yeah, we'll go with that.
Sure.
And he's got 1, 2, 3, 4. He's got 5 credits. So he has, and they're not bad. He's got The Cell.
Yes.
2000.
Yes.
Also co-producer. He's got Poseidon, which was the remake of the Poseidon Adventures,
Okay.
2006 disaster film. They were I think those had like a weird comeback at one point in time.
Yes.
And then he has I Am Legend, and then he has a story credit for Thor, and also co-producer for Old Boy 2013, which I saw. I didn't love it because the original's so good, but I love Josh Brolin, and it wasn't that bad.
Okay, so pretty good background.
More screenplays than I got.
Right, yes. Now, Sleepy Hollows.
Oh, geez. Okay, so this is where I would have had this dude on the show.
So this guy's had a hand in, so one of my personal favorites, because he's worked with Fincher a lot, which is The Game, but he's also did Seven.
Boom.
Boom, right? 8mm, which I love. Event Horizon, right? Boom.
Boom, boom.
Stir of Echoes, Fight Club. Get the hell
you
out
heard
of
of
here
them? Have
with
you
this
seen these
guy-
movies?
with This guy.
Are these good
This guy
movies?
is like, it is just an amazing. The fact that his involvement was with all these crazy movies and the HBO television series Tales from the Crypt.
What's that now?
Boom! Just it's double boom. It's boom. It's
Never Tales from the I'll check it out. It sounds interesting.
Right. So I mean that's just amazing, right? So like that feels like almost an unfair comparison. And if it seems like we're shitting on one movie and lauding another movie, just keep in mind that it's frustrating that they are within 1 percentage point rating of each other on Rotten Tomatoes scale, because they don't belong in the same neighborhood, let alone the same apartment complex. These two movies, right? There's just two different things. So that to me is kind of a silly thing right there. And then one other thing that I thought was interesting about in the comparison part of it is there's a really secret, sneaky message. Oh, and then I want to bounce this off you because I want to compare Sleepy Hollow real quick to From Hell. But in the one of the hidden messages in Sleepy Hollow that I really liked, as a matter of fact, it's not even that hidden. It's kind of in your face. It's a little bit on the nose because it's shown to you a lot of times, but I think it was just really beautifully done. Mm-hmm. So you remember that Johnny Depp's character carries that cardinal thing that he spins.
Yeah.
The cardinal in the
flashback,
cage,
yeah.
right? And what's interesting about that is that Christina Ricci thinks that it's magic. She sees him do it and goes, "Oh, you can do magic." He goes, "No, it's not magic. It's optics." He goes, "So look, there's a bird on one side and an empty cage on the other. And when you spin them, this happens." And basically he's telling her that appearances sometimes have 2 layers to them. So what you see on the surface isn't necessarily what's real, right? Which is the entire point of this movie, right? Like literally, when he shows up, it turns out that the villain isn't the villain. The Headless Horseman isn't the villain, right? He's being controlled. The town isn't what it looks like. It's not this sleepy, quiet town where nothing happens. Everyone's doing crazy witchcraft shit or cheating on each other or corrupt or like whatever. So the appearances can be deceiving, right? Is the message of this movie, and the cardinal spinning cage thing is the demonstration of that, right? So in I Am Legend, everything, his appearance is what it is.
Yeah.
Like everything is what it is. Through the entire movie, you are never surprised. There is never one moment where it's not. There's only one layer to I Am Legend, the movie, right? So like that's where, to me, again, you're just dealing with something where a good director. No, I don't mean I'm saying that wrong because I mean,
Well, Francis Lawrence, who directed, he also did Constant, because I wanted to look this up because I didn't want to just be like,
Yep.
He did Constantine 2005.
Okay, that's a good movie.
He did Water for Elephants, which a lot of people I think
I haven't seen that.
enjoy. I think that was like Robert Pattinson, like coming hot off of Twilight.
Sure.
Then he did 3 of the 4 Hunger Games,
Okay.
which are great.
Fair enough.
And then Red Sparrow, the
Which
Jennifer
is
Lawrence one.
fucking terrible. Okay, so but who knows? You never know with an enterprise as complicated as making a movie.
And I Am Legend had a lot of production fuck
you
ups.
just right. You don't know what got changed or interfered with or blah blah. So I'm willing to give the benefit of the doubt. This is not the series is not about a takedown of movies. It's just this movie Sleepy Hollow deserves to be much better regarded and higher rated than this movie. You should be rewarded for making something as classic and competent and secret scary as Sleepy Hollow, right? So that's that part of it, right? But let's just, what's interesting to me is I noticed completely forgot after my first 2 watches of Sleepy Hollow until I recently rewatched it, that there was even this turn of the century millennial facet to it.
Yeah.
Right. So like it's literally set in 1799 and it literally ends on turning to 1800 and they're stepping into a new century. Right. Well, every time I hear that, I think of one of my favorite lines of all time in any marketing where it was for the movie From Hell, also starring Johnny Depp, about Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
Where Jack the Ripper basically, you don't see him because you can't reveal who he is until you see the movie, but you hear his voice kind of intone in this dark way. And he says something like, "I'm the man who invented the 20th century." Right? Because the 20th century is going to be insane, mad, murder, war, like whatever. And he, in his head, he kicks it off by inventing serial killing, right? So there's this great line. But the more I thought about it, the more I was like, wait a minute. So Johnny Depp plays a detective with weird methods who's trying to hunt down a possibly supernatural or at least demonic killer in an era where the century's turning and society's trying to figure out how to deal with modern ways to deal with things. I was like, wait a minute.
In a film that was released in 1999 going into the 2000s.
Right?
Y2K and all that dumb shit those people
I'm
were freaking
like,
out about.
what the hell? Like From Hell and Sleepy Hollow
Layers
are
and layers and
very,
layers.
very similar. The more I thought about it, the more it's more than just the Johnny Depp part of it, right?
Yeah.
But like the atmosphere with the fog and the London and the
Yeah,
I mean, it's
that's
just
true.
right? So I found it interesting. Like you have Johnny Depp basically play the same role twice.
Yeah.
The more I thought about it, except for what I liked about Sleepy Hollow, his character more was that he was sort of a scaredy cat, right? So like he was
That's my favorite part about that character.
Tell me.
Everything freaks him the fuck out. He's scared of everything.
Yep.
And being like, what do writers call it? Fish out of water kind of stories. That's always fucking fun to watch.
Totally.
And there's it's so refreshing that like, you know a fellow wimp when you see him on the screen, me. And because like I could never relate. Like I grew up watching like The Mummy.
Yes.
Watching that, and like you see Brendan Fraser with like fucking bullets strapped across his chest and blowing shit up, and like as a kid you're like, that's cool,
right?
But in reality, I passed out when my brother got blood drawn from his finger. Right. And I remember the day he got the blood drawn. They had there was a commercial for the Universal Monster VHS Master Collection or something like
crazy.
that. And I remember telling my mom like, "Mom, can we get the Frank?" And then passing out, and then passing out.
Interesting.
And so for me at that time, Ichabod was way more relatable because he's scared of everything, he's frightened of everything, he doesn't like blood, he doesn't like spiders, and to be able to see like that character, that's probably why he's still one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, no one's gonna tell Inspector Abilene, the Johnny Depp's character from Hell, that he's wrong because he's is he's never wrong, which is a little bit less interesting. Right?
Yeah.
That's what I really like about the Sleepy Hollow character is he's wrong,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they didn't Scooby-Doo it, right? They didn't make
No.
Headless Horseman like a real person and a setup. Because that scene's in there when they throw the pumpkin, right? Like that's not...
They're faking him out.
Right.
Yeah, Von Bram or whatever his name is.
Right, exactly. So like you could have had the Scooby-Doo version of Sleepy Hollow,
Mm-hmm.
but thank God they did not do that, right? So
No, and that would have been real cheesy.
So I mean we're gonna do some more obscure movies, like things that maybe newer movies, like whatever. This is to dry run this series. We wanted to.
This
be
was
easy.
fun, though.
These are two really well known movies, so it's not like we can stop because it's not like there's a lot more to kind of like these are known quantities. But
Yeah.
but
Well, what's funny is even though they're known, there was a lot of shit that it had in common that I never
That you
would've-
wouldn't have put
that
together.
I never put together until we said it.
yeah, exactly. I love mashing movies together based off of like what qualities they might share, and that's really fun that we're. I'm really looking forward to the rest of the series, and this was fun. But to me, it's round one for
The
under for the underdog, and Rotten Tomatoes, Metacritic are 0. It's 1-0 right now, and not in favor of the aggregate websites, right? So
Yeah,
so I'm looking forward to seeing if we can
is
continue
an early
this trend.
as the early lead going to pay off? That's what that boils down to.
Exactly.
Because I have a feeling it may.
Exactly. But we are coming to the outsource part of this episode.
Yes.
So I just wanted to mention two things real quick. If you are a horror fiction reader, we have the Hallow Weekly Horror Book Club Facebook group. We're doing some exciting new projects in there with the help of Lindsay Wilson, who
I'll give that a pew, 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 another alarm.
Yeah, exactly. Because we've got some exciting stuff going on there, so please join that, participate. We need people for the discussion. And then the second thing is for like this series, if you can think of movies that are not that very well regarded, and you suspect that they're better than their ratings and that they might have a chance to get in the ring and take out one of like the heavyweight giants up there in the 80, 90, 100%, threshold of
It's
Rotten
the
Tomatoes.
Buster Douglas of films.
Exactly. So message us, leave us a comment on the Facebook page, message us. We also have an email attached to the Facebook page and the website, so send us
There's
a
plenty of
message.
ways to get a hold of us.
However you want to get a hold of us, and let us know.
If you want to
any
hire a
pairings,
skywriter,
whatever you want to do.
that's probably
Totally,
optimal.
right.
I would love to look up one day.
Send us a messenger as long as he has a head. We'll answer the door. It's fine. And
Or a carrier pigeon without a head.
yeah, no, don't send that. Jesus Christ. But if you can think of matchups where there's the movie that is lower rated on the scale in Rotten Tomatoes that can take out a higher rated horror movie, let us know, because we could use your help assembling kind of this list. We have some ideas for the next upcoming episodes, but it's not set in cement. So
Yeah, we can do anything. And while you're at
Let us
it,
know.
go ahead and give us a rating on iTunes. What are you doing? You sitting there listening to it on your iPhone. If you're listening to it on Android, follow on Spotify.
agreed.
Agreed. Give us a rating. What are you doing? And give us some feedback. All right. This was fun. I'm going to love the shit out of this series.
Yep.
I can tell it right now. All right. Until
Thanks for
next
listening,
time,
guys.
stay scary. Watch a bunch of horror movies. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.